James, very nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too, man.
We met for the first time when I spoke to your co-founder and friend,
Yeah.
Ben,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and it was in this very building.
Right here. Yeah,
in
that's
this
right.
very building.
Yeah.
Cool. So, if without stating the obvious, you are from the United States of Australia.
That's right. Yeah.
Very good.
I am. Yeah.
And how did you end up in Germany?
Well, I studied industrial design and transport design in Australia, and it was always a passion of mine, car design and cars in general. And when I graduated uni, I wasn't imagining that I would one day work in the car industry in Europe, but it was sort of my goal to work in Australia, one of the OEMs back then. But through a bit of hard work and networking, I actually got an opportunity to work at Volkswagen in Potsdam. And
I didn't know that you worked there.
That was my first kind of leap into Europe.
Because there was a whole crew of Aussie clay modelers over there.
Yeah, there was, and it was one of the Aussie guys who kind of made a contact for me, and I sent my portfolio over, and the modeling manager really liked it and was interested, and I kind of hadn't heard back anything for a while, and then one day I called up to try and chase up if there was any interest, and he's like, actually it's good you called because they could use a contract starting next month.
Oh wow.
So yeah, can you come to Germany next month? And I was like, oh shit, I have to check if I have a passport valid and yeah.
And visas and all that.
I had a UK passport, which at the time was very useful. But
yes, not so much.
Yeah, that's right.
So dude, and then like you guys live in Stuttgart now, right?
Yeah, near Stuttgart, yeah.
So why did you decide to leave Berlin?
It wasn't so much a choice, actually. Well, I had a contract, like contracting life, it's sort of like 6 months here, 4 months there, moving around. Like I was working as a clay modeler. So after my first 6 months in Potsdam, I loved it. I was living in Berlin, traveling to Potsdam, like beautiful work-life ratio. And I wanted more of that. And I had a contract lined up to work at Potsdam after. I did a stint at Wolfsburg as well, which don't go to Wolfsburg.
Yeah. I'm also could not be recommending Wolfsburg to anyone.
Exactly. But anyway, I had a contract lined up at Potsdam, and it was just like the worst timing for the company, for Volkswagen. Like projects were slowing down. They didn't have that much work at the time, and the modeling manager had asked, like, oh, can you postpone a little bit? Can you start a bit further later? And in the end, I was like, oh, I'm already in Europe, I'm not going to sit around, I'm burning all my savings.
Yes,
so
yes.
the agency I was working for offered me a job in Kia at Frankfurt or at Porsche in Stuttgart. And I always had a bit of a passion for Porsches and sports cars, so I thought, okay, I'll try it out for a little while, just until Potsdam kicks off, and then that turned out being like several years at Porsche.
But dude, were you into the whole like techno scene here in Berlin as well?
Yeah.
So that was like that was a big thing to give up.
That was really hard to, like the nightlife and the sort of the social life of Berlin was really missed in Stuttgart. So that was a big adjustment. I tried to look at the positive sides of living in the south. Like, the countryside is beautiful. You have easy access to the Alps, to France, to Austria, Switzerland, and so on.
Yeah.
So I love skiing and I love mountain sports. So I was like, okay, that's winter in Stuttgart or in the south is a lot more fun than winter in Berlin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure in the summertime I missed the social life a lot. Yeah.
But dude, so I don't know. Like, there's this legendary house that has been talked about through the industry that you guys have basically. Ben described it as this old derelict place in the middle of the forest that he, in a moment of madness, decided to buy, and not knowing anything about what could or couldn't be done structurally or with or without planning permission, etc., etc. But you guys have turned that into like the ultimate, like, I don't want to say bachelor pad necessarily, but it just seems like a fucking fun house. Like,
it's certainly bachelor pad's not the right word, but yeah, it's a beautiful place. Ben did the work. He transformed the place into like a really beautiful house. He redid all the windows, the floors, the walls. The garden was kind of landscaped, and it's like a very nice beautiful space to hang out, relax, but with like kind of a contemporary feeling. You've got like nice furniture, nice interior design and exterior design, and it's a really great place to come together as like designers or people from the design industry and sort of feel a bit inspired, rather than like a lot of the houses are quite uninspiring in the south, like very repetitive, and this house really stands out. Like you see it all the time. We have no neighbors, but we have bicycle paths, and every time people ride past or walk past, they're like, oh, so schön, oh geil, so schön. And you hear that all the time. People come up to the house and even ask us, like, oh, is it for sale? Or like, who lives here? And we've had like several close friends. I live now with Cyril Verbruge, another great designer, and Fabian Schmuls was living there before, Benjamin Baum, and the partners, Hannah and Julia and so on. We had several, I think 5 people living there at once. And
so to add to all that fancy stuff that you've just mentioned as well, you guys have also got this like garage that you are, and you've got what, an Alpina?
Yeah, an old BMW E9. I had the E30 before, yeah. So that's gone. I sold that to sort of fund the E9 project, which started as a small project and turned into sort of 5 years now of total restoration, every nut and bolt rebuilt. But yeah, we have this garage which I share with Cyril, and we're both into old BMWs and love the sort of like purity and simplicity of the design back then. And yeah, it was a perfect fit. Ben was also sharing that garage with us at the time when he was living there. So we had this awesome working space and this living space and awesome garage to work in. And yeah, we just made the most of that, you know, because like social life and going out and partying, which I missed from Berlin, I couldn't get in Stuttgart. So I just focused all my energy into like building stuff and like, you know, spending more time in the forest, like driving. There's so many beautiful roads, like driving trips down to the Alps all the time. And
how long does it take to get down to the Alps from there?
Like the first closest pass is probably Clausen Pass, which is like 2 hours.
Jesus.
But I mean, you can be in Switzerland in a bit less than 2 hours. Well, Strasbourg's only 1 hour away, so you can like the border's close.
That's mega. Yeah. And did you have the mechanical skills and inclination before Stuttgart, or was that something that you've kind of developed?
Definitely developed my confidence with over time. I had an E30 in Australia as well, and I always liked sort of tinkering with it, but I didn't really dive into full-on mechanics side of it. I loved always building things, you know, like fabricating, building whatever it was, like crappy furniture when I was a kid, or...
So, and welding shit, can you weld?
I can weld, yeah, but like, you know, I can weld, MIG weld. It's not that, not like TIG welding, but yeah, fabrication skills sort of came with time. I had a job at Holden Fabrication and worked with some brilliant fabricators there, so they taught me a lot of useful skills, which I had already started to develop at university because I was always interested in model making. So I guess like my kind of model making and fabrication skills I had developed since I was a kid, but mechanic skills sort of really when I was in Germany. And my friend Hardy kind of,
yes.
who you know
yes,
well,
I do know Hardy.
He was, I remember he said,
shout
like,
out to Hardy.
He's like, it's just nuts and bolts, man, just go for it. And I was super nervous about just changing like basic stuff on my car. Like, oh, what if it goes wrong? Or what if, you know, the car's stuck in this tiny garage without an axle? And he's like, just do it. It's like, what can go wrong? You know, just nuts and bolts, take it apart, put it back together. And he really pushed me to do some of the first mechanic projects, and from there it escalated to rebuilding.
He's also he's done some wild shit as well. He was telling me one time about a spring that they had kind of compressed, and it somehow came loose, and it just shot off into the fucking
I don't know
wall
if that's
or
like
something.
The same story, but it could be. We did some work on Schmuller's car at Fabian Schmuller's car at the Forest House, at that house you referred to, and we didn't have the right tools, but Ben is like super just go for it. Just, you know, he's like super motivated and persistent, and I'm a bit more patient and cautious and trying to like get everything detail right. And I think the two of us kind of balance out nicely. But in that scenario, we were changing some springs on a car, and we didn't have the right tool. And Ben's like, just drill it, just cut it. And yeah, the springs exploded out of the shock. I mean, there's a correct tool for it, but we just didn't have it. So we're like, we'll just make do.
No one got hurt?
No, it's fine. Everything was fine.
Wow,
that's classic Ben though. Everything just seems to work out. So.
And dude, have you ever been tempted to put an electric engine into the E9?
Definitely not into the E9 just because it has this special Alpina engine, but I have a classic Mini actually.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of having an electric classic Mini. I mean, I don't have the money all the time to work on that now, but I think that's a really cool project.
If you were to do everything yourself, like what would a conversion like that cost, give or take, roughly?
I know there's companies starting to do kits that you can buy, and I'm sure it's north of like 10,000 euros just for the conversion kit.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure. Although I did have a little look into it.
Yeah.
But there's a guy in Stuttgart who has a electric converted DeLorean. That thing's sick.
Is it really?
That would be the coolest electric car. Yeah. It was at a car show in Stuttgart. I saw it a couple times.
Yeah, I guess it works really. Like there's a guy in California called Busy Moto.
And I know him, 911 guy.
Dude, and the slant nose looks so good.
Purple,
like
pink one.
Yeah, and it works really well, right? As an electric car. Yeah. It's really, really good. It's like, they just go together. Like,
yeah, I think it's cool. There's a couple of electric classic cars here. I think it's really cool. I mean, I love old petrol engines, just like same reason I like new electric stuff. It's simplicity and clean and, not a lot of parts, and I like the simplicity of it. So I think electric classic cars are cool. Sometimes.
And in terms of customization, is that sort of thing, like, is it a lot, would you say it's a lot more easy than traditional cars?
I don't know. I'm really not, I've never done it. I'm sure it's not easy to convert one until kits start becoming available, which they are becoming available, like the Mini kits. I'm sure there's companies working hard to develop kits that you can just literally bolt the old engine out and the new one in.
Okay.
Like these guys from Second Ride are doing with the old Schwalbe scooters.
Yes.
They have a complete drivetrain. You can just remove the original gas engine and put in an electric one. I think that's really cool.
That is very cool. Yeah. And I guess like everything is kind of plug and play, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal. There's so many, like the Busy Motor stuff.
Yes.
There's so many custom things that people are taking like 2 Tesla motors and this battery from over there, and it's crazy what people are doing with custom electric conversions. So,
dude, speaking of electric, you guys obviously, yourself and Ben, co-founded this company called NAON.
Yeah.
There you go, product placement.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
It was Ben's sort of idea originally. Ben's a car designer, and we worked together at Porsche for many years, and he always had an interest in two-wheelers and motorbikes, and was interested in electric two-wheelers, but just didn't see anything really cool on the market or really inspiring.
How long ago is this roughly?
Oh, this is like, I guess, I don't know, 4 years ago maybe, something like that, when the first ideas were coming.
Yeah.
And then he's just sort of started brainstorming, trying to maybe do some quick sketches. I think he pretty quickly started building a 3D model and just did mostly in CAD, kind of let the idea take shape in CAD. And then the idea was sort of formed to build a cool electric two-wheeler, a scooter, which at the time there just wasn't really any cool scooters. Like nothing really, either they were retro looking or they were super weird looking, and there wasn't, we had such a big expertise in car design and from these big companies we knew so much about proportion and styling, and wanted to create like the perfect product. And he brought me on board to help build the thing. So he'd sort of designed it, and then I came in to fabricate the first prototype, and then we have Torsten, Aziz, Hightower came on board the team as well. So there's 5 of us. And
is this all happening in the Forest House?
No, well, it originally sort of started down there, but Torsten, Aziz, and Hightower are in Berlin.
Okay.
And our development partner is in Munich, so we're all over Germany.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's been a lot of long drives with trailers and transporters moving scooters up and down across the country, but it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last
Can you
years.
Tell me a little bit about like the first prototype that you guys made in the Forest House?
Yeah, so we did this in our garage. We have this garage is perfect. We have a lot of space. There's no neighbors. We can make as much noise, work as late as we want. And Ben had designed, as I said, on CAD a lot of the components for the scooter. We had them printed. We had them some parts CNC'd, some parts laser cut. and it sort of came in several boxes of parts that needed to be assembled, but hadn't quite got to the stage of how do we fit it together yet, and that's sort of where my role came in, to take this pile of parts and build it into something that was not only looking and fitting and finished to like a very high standard, but also something that we could eventually sit on and drive.
But that's not the first prototype that we see.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah, so that was driving. Yeah, I mean.
So that was the very first thing that you guys started.
That's the first one. Yeah,
Jesus,
that's our design model.
Wow.
So we, obviously, like working in the industry, we'd worked on like many show cars for different companies before. So we knew all the sort of tricks and skills and quality that we wanted to strive to achieve, and yeah, so we had high standards. We wanted our bike to look as good or better than the stuff we were doing at work. So it was a lot of late nights. Built my own paint booth. I had a full workshop in the garage. Like bandsaw, sanding machines, all sorts of tools, and yeah, it was a mission. And the first time the scooter was finished, I remember I painted it and took it out into the sunlight and was just like taking in the color. I was super happy with the color. Just standing around there for ages, filming it, sending all the pictures to the guys. Like, oh, it looks awesome. Super happy with the color, and then we brought it directly to Berlin and did our first sort of photo shoot here.
Was that wasn't the time? Was that the time that we saw each other?
That was even before that. That was okay. The time we saw you was another photo shoot.
Okay, but tell me, what sort of timescale are we looking at now? From like the first, I don't know, arrival of the 3D printed parts. Like what sort of, how long is that taking up until this point? Were you taking like the money shots outside on the lawn?
From the parts arrival to like the model finished was a few months. I think maybe. It's hard to remember actually, but I think 3 to 6 months, I'd say.
And are you using any like carryover stuff from an original scooter?
That when it was finished, no. But during the build-up process, I had like a fork from another scooter. I had wheels from another scooter until like just as placeholders until we had our own ones.
But the main frame was.
Oh no, it's all original construction. Yeah. So I mean, there was like the bearings for the front fork stem we took from another bike, and the first prototype is a bit of a collection of bits and pieces, and underneath it's there's some steel reinforcements because it's a lot of 3D printed parts. You can't really sit on it without some extra reinforcement. But now we're working on our next prototype, which is like a finished product, so it's with the real aluminium parts, and there's no hidden structure inside.
Dude, I'm asking all these questions because, especially you see it with designers all the time, guys that are very capable of drawing stuff, modeling stuff, visualizing it and all that sort of stuff, to the point where if you saw the picture, you go like, this is a real product. So many of those things end up in the bin, right? Or just on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
So like, I'm trying to work out like, what conversations are you having with each other to say like, how are we going to actually manifest, like bring this to life into a proper business, into a startup? And
honestly, at the time, I think it was, at least for myself, I'm not sure I can speak fully on behalf of the other guys, but I was so short-sighted on like my achieving like the best possible result I could achieve for this prototype that I was like giving my everything. I sacrificed a lot of social life and also my work life suffered because I was like coming in late and finishing early, and I was just like dedicating all my time to NAON because I wanted this prototype. It's one thing to work at a big company, and at the end of the day, it's kind of creditless, at least as a modeler.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is I've experienced this.
Yeah, exactly. And like 90% of what you work on at work in the big companies does end up in the trash, or it just ends up never being seen. So this was something that I knew was going to be public, and I knew it was going to be like a reflection of our work. So it was like, we've got to give this everything and really make it the best thing possible. So at least for me, it was clear that was the only way, was to just like give everything and make it the best way possible.
But then in terms of all the mechanicals of the business, because that's a whole other fucking ball game, right? Because it's one thing. the prototype, I think, is absolutely, it's as important as what you just stated, like even more so, because that's the thing that people see and they go, okay, these guys are not playing games. Like, this is the real shit. Legit, and that's what it's going to look like. And it's going to be able to, you know, it's going to work. Yeah. But then there's the plumbing of the business.
Exactly. So this is where, like, Haitao, Aziz, and Torsten, the other co-founders, joined and brought their expertise, because that's an area, like, I'm not an expert on by any means, but Aziz has a background in finance, and he's worked at some major companies at Daimler and Siemens, and he has a lot of knowledge about startups and business and economics. Haitao has a huge background in sales, also working in Volkswagen Group for many years. So these guys have like worked at big companies, have a lot of expertise in those areas. And Torsten has his own startup company, Barrel Ninja, making surfboard fins. So he'd had a experience from the grassroots level as well.
That's such a cool name, Barrel Ninja.
Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. Nice branding. And so yeah, he had the sort of grassroots experience, and then we had the major OEM experience. But together, that part of the team really brought a good business understanding, which Ben and I, you know, we're like creative minds and wanted to like design and build things. And the guys really helped with like structuring the company and like setting goals of what we need to do and what we need to achieve to actually make the business profitable and successful one day.
Who are these? So I've obviously met them, but are they friends? Like, how do you choose these guys?
Yeah, so everyone knows each other sort of through Ben. Aziz and Ben went to high school together, so they've known each other since childhood.
Okay.
And Haitao, I believe, met Ben in Beijing, because he was working at Volkswagen Group as well, so as was Ben in Beijing for a while. So they met over there, and he's fantastic. He's a great talker. He speaks like several languages, and he's a great salesperson. And he really is excellent networker. So he was a great asset to the team. And I believe Torsten also met through the Volkswagen Group, through Audi. He's an engineer at Audi.
Wow.
And yeah, when Torsten came on board, he was super motivated and really driven to. It was like the missing link that we needed, you know. Yes. Together, the five of us really made a great team.
And as much as you can go into it, I don't need to know like really personal shit, but did you, like, to get the other thing is, okay, you said he was super motivated when he came on board, but to make these deals, these arrangements with friends, and for everybody to kind of have a stake in it and feel like they've actually got some skin in the game, what sort of are you guys splitting everything like pirates? Like,
it was at the beginning. We talked to lawyers when we founded the company, and we sort of were trying to decide what would be fair and what would be the right way to sort of split the company up. And originally, like, nobody was greedy. There was no arguments about like I want more percent or this person wants more. It was fairly unanimously decided. Originally, we thought, we'll just split it even. But then the lawyers advised, like, that's not the smartest way to build a company, because, you know, decisions have to be made, and sometimes one person, if you have like a stalemate or whatever, a deadlocked vote, it can be complicated. So just for the sake of making the company run smoother, it's highly beneficial for one person to have a majority sharehold. Cool. And there was no question that was Ben. It's Ben's idea, and he's the CEO. It's Ben's baby. So yeah, and the rest of us are fairly evenly split. Yeah.
So your role today within the startup, are you doing? I mean, you guys are busy wrapping up a second prototype now. When you're not doing that, what are you doing?
When I'm not working on NAON, you mean? Or?
Yeah, not when you're not working on NAON, but when you're not working on the physical model. Yeah. What is your day to day?
Planning our events, such as this event. Okay. Working on social media, brand building. So often planning like ideas. What can we do to publicize the brand, or like what kind of image we want to represent, and how we can get reach and place ourselves in the right position in the market, because we don't want to just be like a purely commercially driven brand. We want to like create interesting imagery and visuals. Like we're all interested in fashion and design and styling and music, and we want to see our products not just in shops, but like in galleries or in like magazines or like awesome photo shoots. And so, yeah, I'm working hard on trying to create some interesting brand material and content for our social medias.
For example, you guys are doing this art, like an art installation with your bike.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the first exhibition of a sort of art series that we want to launch, and we have our scooter here on display, painted completely in black 3.0, which is the blackest black available to buy.
Yeah, I couldn't see it apart from the lights.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I could see.
Yeah, so we created like a really striking silhouette, and the idea behind that was I wanted to create. Originally, I was thinking about I want it to look like CGI, you know, like it kind of tricks your mind because you can't. There's no depth perception.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to look.
It's like a really shitty render at first. Like
yeah, like without the shader. You know, you just see the silhouette, and it kind of tricks your eye. And the relevance of that is the silhouette is like so recognizable of our scooter because we have this transparent front screen and this very like unique frame design with the aluminium box frame. So yeah, we wanted to show like our minimalist design is like recognizable even when you strip away the details. You know, we have just this iconic silhouette, and that was what this sort of installation was all about. It's like contrast and silhouettes.
Cool.
Minimalism.
Question about money. Mm-hmm. Very important. Not enough people talk about it.
Yeah.
But you know, in the beginning, I've looked into this sort of thing a little bit as well, at least on the surface. And there are people that are kind of the school of thought that everything needs to be planned out. You need to have a rock solid business plan. Of course, it's very important. Mm-hmm. But I also feel that like right at the start, like after going, this is absolutely what I want to do. We want to bring it to life. Certain things you've got to start doing something mm-hmm. before you can easily get into the stage of paralysis by analysis, you know, going like, oh no, the papers say no ways, you know. Yeah, but I get the feeling, I don't know, but like I get the feeling that Ben was like, fuck it, I've got some savings. I'm going to go and spend a bunch of money just machining parts, you know, and totally see what happens.
It was at the beginning entirely self-funded, and I mean, we're still funding a lot ourselves. It's particularly Ben at the start with like all the prototyping phase, and then I spent a lot of my own money as well in the prototyping phase. Everyone has actually. The whole team's put in our own money over the course of the project, but particularly Ben and I at the beginning, we had no sponsorship or funding, or it was entirely out of our own pockets. But we were like, I was a bit reckless at that time, you know. I was sort of not keeping receipts. I was just like, yeah, if I have to spend it, I'll spend it, whatever it takes to sort of get this done.
But you guys believed in it, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's I sort of looked at it like if we try and shortcut or like save money here, then what's the point of doing any of it? You know, you got to give everything. Otherwise, there's no, you know, otherwise you're just wasting time and money.
And would you do anything different now? Like,
wow, that's a big question.
A lot.
I don't know. Honestly, I think we really, for the amount of time and money that we invested, like we achieved so much at the beginning. It was, I don't think we could have done it cheaper or faster or better with the resources that we had at that time. So. And
also the part of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of getting external funding, which I understand you guys have got now.
Yeah.
That's like, they also need to see some evidence that you guys are really serious about this as well.
Absolutely.
Especially over here. Because, I mean, in the States, and I mean, I think things are calming down now, but, you know, there were so many businesses that were just, you know, money was getting thrown at them without even, I say businesses, ideas really, without any, like, serious intention to realize anything, just with the notion of like some VC is going to fund it, and if it folds, who gives a shit? It's not my money, you know?
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, like we did get funding. We got funded by our development partners. So essentially, we networked and found a development partner based in Munich, which is FPF, Fahrzeugtechnik Fahrzeugtechnik, and they're experts in two-wheel development, also doing some four-wheel stuff. But they have a wealth of experience in two-wheelers and we've worked with major companies like OEMs like BMW and I'm not sure which ones I can say, but anyway, some big companies.
Okay.
And so we knew they had the knowledge and the experience and the facilities to sort of develop this product fully. So they were a great partner for us to match with. And we agreed to some terms where they basically invested in us the funding that we needed to develop our serial prototype with them. So that was great for both of us because, of course, they did need to see from us that we were also serious. But until that point, we'd done everything out of our own pocket. Like we were 100% serious. Like we had no return. And we still have no return. It's not yet, but it's like fully. We were fully committed at the time, and we were able to communicate that to them. Also by putting in an equal invest to what they put in.
Okay.
And still we're like pushing the limit of what that money can get us. So we're still having to like pay out of our own pocket for certain things, or it's difficult. It's not like we have enough money to do whatever we want.
That's what I was gonna get at. Like, what would you need to do to be able to go, okay, fuck it, I can quit the day job and do this full time?
Yeah, that's the next goal. So we are now working on our serial prototype, which should be finished in a matter of months. We've already just been down to see it being assembled and welded together just a couple of weeks ago. And when we come out with that prototype, we're going to do a round of investment pitches, and hopefully we can get the investment we need to kickstart the production run. And once that comes, that will enable us to quit our day jobs and focus full time on NAON.
What, in like very short, how do you the process of investment, like a funding round, getting people involved? How do you set up those meetings? Aziz
is the expert on that, and Hightower as well. Partially, he's great. Actually, to be honest,
so they know they've got
great networkers.
People. Yeah. Okay.
And in the last months, we've had a lot of great meetings with different people who are interested, and we have them sort of standing by waiting to see what our next move is. So we have a bit of a list of people we really want to pitch to, and they've expressed their interest. We know we're working on like our presentation, like what our product's going to look like, and our brand and our business story, and just like refining it, getting all the numbers and details exactly how we want them. And and then we're going to begin to start pitching to them once we have this product, because once we have the prototype, it's one that we can really drive. It's with street registration, it's the final thing. So we believe that's the sort of the missing piece that we need at the moment to get that funding, is like a real working finished prototype, because the design model we have, it looks fantastic, and it drives on videos and stuff, but it's missing the engineering and the development that we've been working on for the last 2 years to actually produce it. So it's all well and good to come up with this awesome design, but to have something that's really ready to produce is taking a huge amount more work.
Whole other ball game, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And now we can show to investors that we've done that hard work. We're ready to build it. We just need a little bit of money from you.
James, final question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody that fucking hates their job and feels like they're not getting any traction in their day-to-day?
I think
is this path that you've chosen? Is it for everyone?
Certainly not for everyone, but one thing I worked in a lot of, like when I was working full-time in the car industry, I was taking 6 months off to go and work in the Alps, and I had some really great friends, and that was their life. They worked in the Alps, and they all said, "Oh, I wish I could go and work in a full-time job like Porsche and have this great job." And then when I was at Porsche, my colleagues were like, "Oh, I wish I could go and work in the ski industry and do that."
Wow,
it's sort of like seeing both sides of those, like people that are happy with 10 euros an hour and people that are unhappy with way more than that.
Yes.
It really made me appreciate that like your work life is not everything. Actually, you have so much time after work to do what you want, and if you prefer to live somewhere cool and do something fun after work, and you don't care so much about working like not such a rewarding job, that's also okay, you know. But or if work is everything, then maybe you're going to dedicate all your time after work to building your career. But I guess if I would look back, I would just say, like, you know, try and find one or the other. Like, either work on building like a career where you're going to love your job, or work on building a nice life, and the job is just, you know, a means to facilitate your nice life. Because you have so much time after work. If you're really driven and you want to create something, just go for it. Like, you can work on something after work. And I have so many cool friends, and I've seen a lot of people create awesome businesses. A lot of the guys here have started all these brands and ideas just working on them on the side after work. And I think, yeah, that's a really valuable time. And I think more people should try and use their private time for like creating something cool like that.
Awesome. James, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And
always.
Yeah, what a great note to end off on.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Cheers,
appreciate
dude.
it. Cheers.
All right. Thank you. Oh.